Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate trustees all attending and the people in the audience. As always, the video of this meeting is being broadcast live on YouTube and will also be available on Facebook and posted to the village website. I would ask that the meeting be called to order and that Clerk Saladino call the roll.
Trustee Augustine.
Here.
Trustee Gale.
Here.
Trustee Katinik.
Here.
Trustee McGee.
Here.
Trustee O'Brien.
Here.
Trustee Peterson.
Here.
President Kukler.
And here. Next up, we have two special volunteers to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We have Allison and Sadie Martinitis, and if they could go to the podium.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Allison, where do you go to school? Well, they've done a great job having you learn the Pledge of Allegiance, and thank you for leading it today. We appreciate it. A few announcements. As everybody knows, on June 20th, we celebrated Juneteenth. It was a time for the village to recognize the commitment that we have and our residents share to be inclusive and welcoming. We want to thank the Community Diversity Group, the Sisters of St. Joseph, and many of the community leaders for hosting the Juneteenth event. Our fire department came out and supported it, and it was nice to see. The theme was, no one is free until everyone is free. And I think we can all agree there's nothing more fundamentally true than that. Mrs. Renee Hodges, a Grange resident, was honored for her work in the community and as a valued business person. The keynote speaker was Reverend Wheeler Parker, who was Emmett Till's first cousin and was down when Emmett Till was lynched. And I thank you for the trustees that were able to participate and everybody else that came out. Last Saturday, we had the Snack and Stroll presented by the LaGrange Business Association and their partners. It was a wonderful success. We want to also thank, as always, the LGBA for coordinating the farmers market each Thursday morning from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the north side of Village Hall. Last week there was music, and there was also story time that's very, very popular. So we appreciate all the volunteers that are involved in that and recommend there's something for everyone in the family. So please come out and continue to support that. We, as a village, one thing that makes us so special is the number of residents that agree to volunteer and serve on our boards and commissions. Our village governance relies on the active participation of residents volunteering their time and effort to keep the quality of life so high in LaGrange. We want to encourage residents to continue to apply for openings. Right now, there is an opening on the Design Review Commission, so if anybody that's listening, either in the audience or at home, would be interested, please apply by sending myself or Manager Peterson an email. We'd be happy to consider you. Lou Ciparoni isn't here today, nor is Joe, but we did win the Karaffa, the CAFR award. It's the Government Finance Officers Association has advised that the village's comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ending April 30th, 2021 qualified for the GFOA's Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. This is the 27th consecutive year that the village has received the prestigious award. We want to again thank Lou Ciparone and Joe Munuza for their hard work. When our auditor comes in, he always mentions how well they do preparing the documents beforehand and how organized and easy the audit is. So we thank them, and we know that they know that we appreciate their efforts. And moving on, we have an appointment and then a recognition. So maybe I'll skip the order and we'll do the recognition just in case there's a fire call, because we were a little concerned. I believe there was a fire call earlier that kept us. So it is my pleasure to recognize the hard efforts of Craig Martinez, 25 years of service to the village of Grange. Firefighter paramedic Craig Martinez has reached a milestone in his career with the village and fire department. On June 16th, he completed 25 years of service with the LaGrange Fire Department. Craig began his career with LaGrange Fire Department as a firefighter paramedic on June 16th, 1997. He's currently the most tenured member of the fire department. Craig has distinguished himself during his career by continuing to educate himself in a multitude of fire science subjects and specialties. He is not only certified as an advanced firefighter and provisional fire officer, but also certified in several technical rescue specialties as a technician, which is the highest level of training. Firefighter paramedic Martinez is also certified as our only juvenile fire setter intervention specialist. In 2004, Craig received the Humanitarian Award from MABUS and the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association for his actions during the April 2004 Utica tornado disaster. Craig grew up in LaGrange and attended grade and high school in LaGrange. His parents, who are here tonight, Dick and Marcia Martinitis, are still residents of LaGrange. Craig and his partner Liz, a lieutenant paramedic with the Oregon Fire Department, live in Justice with their family, including 4 children, Chris, Kaylee, Allison, and Sadie, who we had the opportunity to already meet. So please join me in recognizing firefighter Craig Martinez for 25 years of dedicated service to the village of LaGrange. And again, it's Craig Martinitis. When I mispronounced it, hopefully the LTTV can blur that or something. But sorry about that. And thank you for the firefighting team to come out tonight and recognize Craig's hard work, dedication, in partnership with all of you. So a round of applause to the whole fire department. And to the police officers that work next door and share the building, thank you for coming out, and I think we want to make sure that we give them a round of applause for coming out. And then one more round of applause to Dick and Marcia. Again, they're longtime LaGrange residents, but having your child, your spouse, your parents, serving in such a first responding, putting your life on the line for others is a real sacrifice. And I know that there's some sleepless nights involved in that for the family. So thank you for that sacrifice. Moving along, next up is my recommendation that Allie Bowe be appointed to the Environmental Quality Commission. Allie is a resident of LaGrange. She has been very active in the Dry Up LaGrange organization. I've had the opportunity to meet with her several times. Usually comes with a binder and a lot of documents in the binder. She knows where they're always at. And she does keep anybody in the meeting on their toes because she knows the facts and keeps everyone focused. I think she'll be a great addition to the EQC. And so at this time, I would welcome a motion for her appointment.
I move we accept Allie Bowe for appointment to the Environmental Quality Commission.
I'll second.
And then a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And as we expected, Allie Bowe is unanimously appointed to the EQC. We appreciate it. We look forward to your efforts, and not only on the flood mitigation, but all the issues that the EQC tackles. So thank you for agreeing to serve. Before I move on, Chief Wardlaw, if I could put you on the spot, I know that the police department publicized on Facebook a car theft. I'm not sure if it's a carjacking, car theft, I guess I'll call it, and let you describe and maybe inform our residents what happened and if there's any cause for concern or how people can be safe.
Absolutely. On June 24, 2022, at approximately 7:06 p.m., officers responded to the 200 block of East Plainfield Road for a vehicular hijacking. The offender in the matter ended up pushing the victim to the ground. The victim, fortunately, did not sustain any injury, and the offender entered the car and fled the area. Subsequently, this is an ongoing investigation. We are working on several leads, and we expect to have a hopeful resolve in the upcoming weeks in reference to it. But what I want to also share with members of the public are some general safety tips that we can all follow when conducting transactions. Some of those include never make a transaction alone. Always make sure that you're conducting a transaction, you let some third party that you know aware of where you're conducting this transaction. Always meet in a public place. The preferable place is the LaGrange Police Department lobby and or the parking spaces in front of the police department. Request that an officer stand by when you're conducting these types of sales. Do not go to someone's home or invite someone to your home. Again, preferred method is to use the LaGrange Police Department or its parking spaces located in front. If at all possible, verify cash, cashier's checks, money orders through a bank prior to completing the transaction. Conduct transaction during daytime hours whenever possible. If at any time you feel uncomfortable about an aspect of the transaction, trust your instincts and move on.
Thank you, Chief. And those are great tips and advice, and I appreciate you educating all of us. Again, the police department is available. Their lobby is available to transact these type of transactions. It wouldn't be a board meeting without a talk about flooding. So moving on to that, it's been a long time since I've had exciting good news, but I'm happy to say that Congresswoman Newman has announced that she is in the process of securing several millions of dollars for flood mitigation in her district. I had the opportunity to speak with Congresswoman Newman. I know the Dry Up LaGrange, at least a couple of representatives also had to had the opportunity to speak with her. She's indicated that it's moving along quickly in the process. She expects in the next couple of weeks to have a final vote. She's confident that she has the support necessary to get these millions of dollars into the district for flood mitigation. It's not exactly clear what amounts will be allocated to each village, but Congresswoman Newman specifically said she knows that LaGrange has the most, if not the most, one of the most needs, and expects that when the amounts are finalized, that we'll do very well and we'll be very happy. She's also working with other governmental entities, especially the county, to see if they'd be willing to match dollars that she's able to secure. And we're hopeful that the county would be willing to do that. We obviously have been working closely with Commissioner Frank Aguilar. He's invited myself as well as Dry Up LaGrange to speak to the county board. We've taken all those opportunities to do so. So hopefully we're moving into that direction where we'll be able to secure some of those funds also. So it's exciting news on that front, and I'm happy to be able to announce it. And of course, I want to extend the appreciation to Congresswoman Newman. And then lastly, I'll take a breath so it's clear it's last. We have an election tomorrow. There's a lot of great candidates running, and we hope that they have the support. But really, we don't advocate any politics from the dais up here at all. But I think we can all say it's important that you vote. Every vote does matter. Every vote does count. And so please, if you haven't taken advantage of early voting, tomorrow, the polls open 7 to 7, and it matters. So please go ahead and vote. And with that, I will ask if there's a manager's report.
Thank you, President Kukler. The village encourages residents and businesses to register for the Rave Alert Smart 911 system to stay informed of weather and other emergencies. Residents may choose the types of notifications they receive and how they receive them. One sign-up includes both programs, and there is no cost. Please visit the village website at www.lagrangeil.gov and click on the Emergency Alert sign-up button on the front page. The Village Hall will be closed for services on Monday, July 4th, in observance of the Independence Day holiday. Normal business hours will resume on Tuesday, July 5th. Online service options are available on the village's website, and a full complement of emergency response personnel will be available throughout the holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Peterson. At this time, I would ask Clerk Saladino to read the items both under the consent agenda and the current business.
Matters on the consent agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they've already been considered fully by the board at a previous meeting or have been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the consent agenda to current business for separate consideration. Item A, ordinance, amendment to a plan development final plans, LaGrange Public Library. Item B, agreement, parking lot 3, permeable paver retrofit design. Item C, contract, 2022 crack filling program. Item D, award of contract, licensing and permitting software. Item E, minutes of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees regular meeting, Monday, June 13th, 2022. Item F, consolidated voucher, 220627. Current business. This agenda item includes consideration of matters being presented to the Board of Trustees for action. Item A, special event, annual downtown LaGrange Craft Fair. Item B, resolution, approving the transfer of 200 South Washington to the Park District of LaGrange.
Thank you very much, Clerk Saladino. At this time, I would ask if anybody in the audience has any comments, questions regarding matters on tonight's agenda.
Well, since you brought up flooding. So, good evening, President Cookler, Village Board, and village officials. My name is Glenn Thompson of 448 South Spring, LaGrange, and one of the founders of Dry Up LaGrange. This past weekend marks the 1-year anniversary of our last major flood. It's hard to believe that last year on this date, we were standing here in a stinking room full of angry citizens. But it is, in fact, the 1-year anniversary of the formation of Dry Up LaGrange. And just wanted to recognize that unfortunate time for us to go. Our goal has always been to work with the village to find ways to reduce flooding, raise attention, and raise funding to pay for flood relief. The last year has been spent connecting with elected officials and others to plead our case and work to solve the flooding that LaGrange faces. We've had some successes along the way in the last year, and we must not forget them. From the hospital putting a curb in to direct the water into their storage basin where they should have been all along, there was a great move by Public Works to get that done. The village board working with the Environmental Quality Commission and creating the 50/50 reimbursement program for storm overhead sewers and the relief valves, a huge step forward, and we really appreciate that. And, you know, the village has engaged Christopher Burke to look at options on different ways to solve the flooding, and we appreciate that. And with some hopeful developments on the delay of the quarry trial, the judge has asked for some information from the quarry that will tend to make our case much stronger and put more pressure on the quarry to get this settled and move forward. We have worked with elected officials at all levels of our government, from the NWRD to the county and the federal levels. As President Kugler mentioned, Allie and I and Mark both received phone calls from Congresswoman Newman last week announcing the community grant. That money is unfortunately going to be split amongst 4 or 5 suburbs, but so it is up to us as a village to come up with a quick action plan to spend that money before anyone else can have any. So, you know, the Army Corps of Engineers is the one that's going to dictate that money. As she said, we have the greatest need by far of any of those suburbs, but we need to make sure we have a plan that we can spend that money on fast and then get the matching funds from the county or the state or MWRD as that goes forward. For all of us as we stand here today, we are on the eve of the primary elections. With the redistricting of both the state, federal, and county levels, we are, as LaGrange, facing an almost entirely new elected official slate for us in all our positions. What does that mean for Dry Up LaGrange and LaGrange, the village? We now have to reintroduce ourselves to a lot of elected officials. Redistricting has caused some changes in our area. So our friend, Frank Legulera, who wears our T-shirts to all his meetings and really drives for us, we are doing normally we don't endorse campaigns, but we are endorsing Frank because it is important that we continue to get his support as he has fought for us. It's also hopeful that another person sitting in this room will also join him at the 17th. So Lugel, good luck tomorrow and hope that goes well. But just want to remind that tomorrow is the primaries, and except for really 2 elections across the state, the elections are settled tomorrow. So most of them end by just the primary election, except for the 17th congressional and also the 17th congressional and 17th state county vote. So make sure to get out and vote. It's important we continue to do that. And we will work hard to represent and continue to look for support. As one member told me today, the only nice thing about us now having split representation for LaGrange at most offices, we now have twice as many people to support our cause and pull for money for the county. So again, thank you for working with us for this last year. Hopefully we can come up with a quick solution and get out and vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for your kind words. And we are working on it, and we will be ready. I can assure you that. Again.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dan Spain. I'm the owner of The Elm at 23 West Harris Avenue. Just a quick comment on the craft fair. The carnival was a couple weekends ago, and I know the craft fair is in front of my business. So both events are right in front of my business. Everyone did a phenomenal job associated with the carnival, so I just want to say that. Police chief, everyone at the community, great job. I am asking, I do have 12 events that weekend, and so it's very difficult for there are people coming from all over Chicagoland. So I need to try and have valet because people bring a lot of gifts to these events. They're not sure where they're really going. So I'd like to try and see if that's an option that we could do in the parking lot that's across from me. If that's an option, I would greatly appreciate it, and looking forward to your comments on that. Thanks.
Thank you, and thank you for your kind words. I know that your business had private valet for an event last week or the week before, and I'm sure our staff will continue to work with you as much as we can to address the parking situations. Seeing no other comments, I would ask if there's a motion and a second on the consent agenda.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you, trustees. Any comments? And starting with Trustee Augustine.
Yes, as previously stated, I recuse myself from voting on any agenda items related to the village prosecutor.
Thank you. Any other comments, concerns on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I would ask Clerk Saladino for a roll call vote.
Trustee Peterson?
Aye.
Trustee O'Brien?
Aye.
Trustee McGee?
Aye.
Trustee Katina?
Aye.
Trustee Gale?
Aye.
Trustee Augustine?
Aye.
And the consent agenda passes unanimously. Moving on to current business, as Dan Spain indicated, we do have a special event. It's the annual Downtown LaGrange Craft Fair. It's a great event for LaGrange. It is considered in the industry as the top craft fair. I've heard it mentioned in the state. I'll go with country until proven wrong. So the best in the country. And I will move it on to Trustee Augustine to either correct me or embellish further on the craft fair.
I'll go with the latter. Thank you, President Kukler. Yes, it's that time of year again for the, is it 46th, 47th, or 48th annual? 48th. Okay, I've seen it a few different ways. All right, 48th, it's amazing. Another wonderful event put on by the LaGrange Business Association in conjunction with village support, but the Business Association does the heavy lift as they do in so many of our great events, and we really appreciate that. It brings a lot of great attention and awareness to the village. So yes, tonight we will review a request from the LaGrange Business Association for the 48th annual LaGrange Craft Fair. The craft fair brings thousands of visitors, maybe millions, to LaGrange annually, and has been ranked among the top 200 best juried craft shows in the country. It's seen a few iterations in its time, and since 2019, the craft fair has expanded from a 2-day event to a 3-day event. It's Friday, July 15th, Saturday, July 16th, and Sunday, July 17th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day. And as in the past, the LGBA has hired Craft Productions as the event organizer, and we anticipate there'll be around 200 exhibitors. Traditionally, it's occupied, as Mr. Spain has mentioned, Harris Avenue from LaGrange Road to Ashland, and it includes several of the parking lots and spaces in the area. To smooth things along, the fair vendors have also historically been located on the sidewalks of Burlington Avenue to Cossett Avenue, and actually the moving along part is in the transportation part. The reduction in available parking due to the crafts fair has caused us to develop a nice little free shuttle from Lyons Township High School North Campus, where the craft fair vendors will generally be required to park, and also in the remote areas of west of Ashland Avenue. And there's details for anyone who's interested in that, but I think the people exhibiting are aware of that. Our village staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval of the event subject to the following conditions. I won't name them all, but that's, of course, licenses, permits, insurance coverages to be obtained to the satisfaction of the village. And the village, of course, maintains final approval of site security, parking, and utility plans. Craft Productions must ensure that all vendors sign a participant acknowledgement, release, and waiver. And the LGBA must secure all necessary permissions from Casa School and Lyons Township before use of their property. All affected property owners and tenants shall be notified in writing of the proposed street closures no less than 2 weeks prior to the event. I would hope that actually there's even more time than that for people to, make arrangements not to have big events. That would be the only thing if we could, and you probably do announce that much earlier than that, just to give people time to work around that if they choose to. Of course, there'll be portable toilets delivered by Thursday at 8 a.m., so that won't impact businesses. And then costs by the village for materials and labor will be reimbursed by Craft Productions. Vendors are to be notified that no displays of merchandise are to be placed in village planters, and vendors must park off-site, as said. So that's the gist of it. And if we concur here tonight as a village board, if we formally approve this event, we'll also need to make sure that Harris Avenue from LaGrange Road gets closed, Madison Avenue from Harris to just north of Madison Avenue from Harris to just north of Madison Avenue entrance to parking lot 8 and Village 3 and lots 3 and 4. And lastly, it is also recommended that we direct staff to temporarily waive enforcement of metered parking for the duration of the event. Representatives from the LGBA are here tonight and will be available for further questions if we need to, and hopefully we can hear from them about anything special that's happening this year. And having said all that, I would move that we approve the event permit as stated.
Second.
Thank you, trustees. Any comments, discussion? Trustee Gale.
The only comment I would make is I don't think we have to do anything different to the resolution, but just perhaps instruct staff to work with Dave Spain and the Elm or Dan, sorry, to make sure that any valet or parking issues are coordinated.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. I think we have another comment.
Yeah, it's somewhat related. Maybe we can talk about it after the vote, of course, but I wanted to talk about parking event day or non-event day. I know we were working on a parking study, but we're also getting some kind of unofficial assessments of how things are going. And I know with the movie theater being busier, that's something we haven't had in a couple of years. We'll see a lot of pressure on our capacity. So I know that the teacher's lot is starting to get used, and the parking garage, it sounds like, Charity, correct me if I'm wrong, is not always filled. It's rarely filled. People need to know that the top 2 levels are traditionally open. So I'm just wondering if we can do any more discussion of that to encourage people where to go, especially on a weekend such as this.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Did you want more discussion than we just had, or just a reminder?
Well, if I've said anything wrong, or if you can add, if Charity could add to that to help for the weekend in a few weeks.
Sure. I mean, I can just add a little bit by way of numbers. We do regularly, as time allows, do parking utilization inventories where we have our parking enforcement officers, or sometimes we pay a valet company, go out and count the number of available spaces on Fridays and Saturday evenings. So we have done some of those recently, knowing that the theater was going to be reopening. We did some just before it reopened and just right after it reopened. And found that consistent with some of our previous counts that we had done as well, on average, we have about on average, after the theater reopening, we had an average of 240 off-street parking spaces available on Friday and Saturday evenings, with 165 of those being in the garage.
Thank you. And again, those are spots that were not taken. They were available to be used.
Correct.
All right. Any other comments, questions on that? Seeing none, I would ask Clerk Saladino for a roll call vote.
Trustee O'Brien.
Aye.
Trustee McGee.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee Katina.
Aye.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee Peterson.
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item under current business is a resolution approving the transfer of 200 South Washington from the village to the Park District of LaGrange. 200 South Washington is the community center, and it's been a real asset to the village of LaGrange. It's been very well used by members throughout the village, but due to its location, it's especially well used by residents that live east of LaGrange Road. A little bit of the history. In 1958, the village received donation of the property at the southwest corner of Lincoln and Washington Avenues. And then in the early 1960s, the village built the community center at 200 South Washington Avenue. So that's the building. There's obviously the park that's just to the south of it. In 1980, the village entered into a 99-year lease with the Park District for maintenance and use of the community center and property. The Park District has continually used and maintained the property for recreation and other community programming through the years. And I know our trustee, Shawana McGee, has often used the building for her programs and tutoring, and it's really been a true asset for our residents. At the village's strategic planning session in October 2021, the village board discussed the property and determined that a transfer of the community center and related property to the Park District of LaGrange warranted further consideration and discussion. And really, the primary driver, at least for me personally, is that when the building is owned by the village, but used and maintained by the Park District, it could be kind of forgotten. The Park District has their own properties, and when the pie is only so big and they're dividing the pie, it's sometimes hard for the Park District to move money over to a building that's owned by the village. And by the same token, the village has a pie of finances, and there's always a need. And when we're looking at how best to use the needs, often a building that doesn't really fit our mission is being used by the Park District, doesn't get the resources that perhaps it deserves. So by transferring the property to the Park District, it's going to be situated better so that it can be the focus of the Park District and utilized and maintained how they best see fit. And I know, and we all know, that the park board, the park staff does a great job in making sure that their facilities are used to the highest and best use. So, pursuant to the Local Government Property Transfer Act, on June 13th of 2022, the Park District of LaGrange passed an ordinance declaring that it is necessary or convenient for it to use, occupy, or improve the property, and authorizing the transfer of the property for the benefit of the Park District. Our village attorney, Bill Schuster, has worked with the Park District's attorney to finalize a quitclaim deed transferring the property from the village to the Park District. And again, what that does is whatever interest we have in that property, we are moving over to the Park District. The final step requires the village board to determine that it is in the best interest of the village and public to authorize and approve the conveyance of property to the Park District by resolution. And I think that's important. We've heard this talked about in other assets and things with the village, and really, when we're going to convey or give property, what we're looking for as a board is to make sure that it's in the best interest of the village and the public to authorize and approve the conveyance of the property to the Park District by resolution. The transfer of the property requires 2/3 affirmative vote by the Village Board of Trustees. We recommend that the staff and I recommend that the resolution be approved. And Attorney Schuster, will I be voting on that or not?
You can vote on that.
Okay, so there will actually be 7 votes to Clerk Saladino. So at this time, I would make the motion for the resolution approving the transfer of 200 South Washington and ask if there's a second.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. And then I'll open it up for discussion and comments.
I have a question.
Sure.
President Kukler. And this has been a concern of some of the community residents As you stated, the building has had lots of usage from the community. And I'm kind of like in between because I have a great relationship with the Park District. I've done programming there for over 30 years, but they're wondering if the transfer is going to affect the usage that the community has, like they do rentals on the weekends and things like that. And so their concern is that the Park District will be busy loading the building with their programs, and it would limit the use that the residents would have.
Thank you, Trustee McGee, not to cut you off, but it brings up a good point. We have in the audience Jenny Bechtold, the Executive Director of the Park District. Jenny, if you could come to the podium and maybe address Trustee McGee's concerns, and usually when one trustee has a concern, it's probably shared by most, if not all, the trustees. So thanks.
Sure. Well, first, thanks for bringing this to the table and discussing this option with us. We're very excited. We don't anticipate the programming to change dramatically. We'll probably look at maybe having some more programs there because we do want it to be a well-used community center and offer programming for the east side of the community. But we don't anticipate it changing drastically. There will be rentals available. So I don't anticipate that to be a problem.
Trustee McGee, do you have any follow-up questions or anything on that while we have Jenny up here?
No, I kind of felt that. I've worked, like I said, with the Park District for many years, but I did promise that I would ask that question.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And any other questions or comments, either for Ms. Bechtold or anything in general? Seeing none, I would, and thank you, I appreciate it.
Sure.
And thank you to the Park District Board. I would ask Clerk Saladino for a roll call vote, please, and all 7 of us.
Trustee Augustine?
Aye.
Trustee Gale?
Aye.
Trustee Katina?
Aye.
Trustee McGee?
Aye.
Trustee O'Brien?
Aye.
Trustee Peterson?
Aye.
President Kukler?
Aye, and it passes unanimously. And we look forward to any improvements that the Park District can make to it, and good luck with it. Thanks for the partnership that we enjoyed for all these years, and on all our other projects we'll continue to enjoy, so it's fantastic. Moving on. Are there any public comments regarding matters not on tonight's agenda?
Hello, Board. I'm Becky Lorenzen from here in LaGrange, and I just wanted to thank the village for your support of the Juneteenth event, for Mr. Kukler to do the opening comments, Andre and Charity and Beth and Shawana, and I didn't see everybody, but any other trustees that joined, we appreciate your support very much, and also the police department and the fire department, Chief Wardlaw and Vavra, and many of the staff were there as long as they could be until they got called out on call. So we just want to appreciate our support that the village gave to that event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful event, informative, fun, true celebration, and I believe next year it will be a true official holiday with even the village closed on that day. So congratulations on the event. Any other public comments? Seeing none, I will move to trustee comments. Any trustee comments? Trustee Augustine.
Thank you, President Kukler. I'm going to continue to talk about parking. As we heard from Jerry Jones, we do seem to have some capacity where a lot of times I think people don't realize, both in the teacher lot on Ashland that's newer this year and in our parking garage and in other areas. And while we are now in the beginnings of this longer-term parking study. I mean, many months before we'll have some resolutions on that and some concepts. You know, and Charity, we've talked about this a bit, but I'd love to go further with the board. And we've tried it for years, but how do we get that word out? You know, how do we get the residents and those who frequent town to know that? I know we have some signage coming in, but not yet. You know, where can we go to help our own residents out? We heard earlier today from the owner of the theater who's expressed that that is a question that is coming up with some of the visitors to our theater. So if we have the capacity, and again, we've tried a lot of great things in the past, but maybe we need to revisit that with the CEDC or a smaller group, but let's get the word out. Let's tell people where the capacity exists for now, and help everybody do well in that way. I don't know if that's on the agenda of the CEDC or if we can put it there, but I think a discussion, it's a good time to have those conversations again.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Any other trustee comments? Then, again, good luck to all the candidates that are running, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Trustees, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the meeting is adjourned at 8:21, and we will reconvene on July 11th, which is 2 Mondays from tonight. Thank you.